Fire!
All right, everybody, we have Pamela Draper from Bitvo here. She's going to be talking about everything they're doing. Yeah, I know. We've got the peanut gallery back there all day.
Point man!
So I'm going to pass it off to her. I'm going to let her take the stage. So here you go, Pamela Draper from Bitvo.
Thanks, guys. Do you want to flip all the slides?
No. Wherever you want to go.
Let's go here. All right. This is going to be off the screen, but I'm just going to talk. So the presentation that I have today, it might be rudimentary for some of you. It's back to basics. If you have never bought cryptocurrency before, how do you buy, sell, and store your cryptocurrency? And before I even get yelled at by a lot of people, no, an exchange is not the only way you can buy, but it is the one I'm going to talk about. Even Adam, who was here earlier, who owns a Bitcoin ATM company, still buys on the exchange. He actually buys on our exchange. So that's exciting. I know that you can do peer-to-peer. I know that you can do Bitcoin ATMs, and there's other solutions, but we are going to talk from an exchange perspective when we're talking about purchasing. So when you're purchasing cryptocurrency on an exchange, in theory it should be pretty easy. It should be easy as choosing your exchange, getting verified, funding your account, and then purchasing. But the devil is often in the details, as they say, and your experience on various exchanges, and I'm sure people here have come across different experiences, can vary quite dramatically depending on which exchange you choose. So what are some things to think about? When you're choosing an exchange, reputation, country of location, banking relationships, and location of those banking relationships, principles of the exchange, the ownership, are they known or is it masked? Is the interface easy to use? Is it simple? Is it professional, recognizable, auditors and advisors, law firms, that sort of thing. So once you've chosen an exchange, the next thing you consider is getting verified. Different exchanges have different ways of verifying you. Some can be quite manual, where you're taking a photo of yourself as a selfie, you're taking a photo of your government ID, you're sending all of that information into the exchange, or they can be quite automated. Our exchange is automated through the Canadian credit process. So if you have a valid Canadian credit profile, then you're verified automatically, and 75% of our customers are done that way. When you're thinking about getting verified, one consideration is the security of your personal information. So if you are sending in that driver's license selfie, be aware that on the other end, that party that you're transacting with is storing that information there. So do you trust them to store it safely? Do you trust that that information can't get hacked, that your driver's license doesn't end up in the wrong hands? Speed of verification, also if it's manual, it takes a little bit longer. Adam talked about this earlier today. It has gotten a lot better. When he first signed up for an exchange, took half a month. Verification can be as quick as instantaneous today. Once you're verified, then you can fund your account. So how quickly does that happen? That's a consideration here. And then what are your funding options? How do you get money onto your account? And then once your account is funded, then you can purchase. So when you're purchasing, what are you thinking about? You should be thinking about what you can purchase. So what cryptocurrencies does that exchange offer? And what we call pairs. So Bitcoin to Canadian dollars, Ripple to Canadian dollars, but also could you buy Ripple with Bitcoin? So could you do crypto to crypto pairs? So once you're up and you're running on an exchange, some components of a cryptocurrency exchange and some considerations there. So what are your payment options? Various options. Most common in Canada: Interac e-transfer, wire transfers, credit card, crypto to crypto transfers, or funding your account in cash. What pairs are supported? AML KYC, is this automatic or manual? Limits and holds are very important. So each different exchange will have various different limits in terms of how much you can send to them via the various different methods of funding, and then how much you can take off by the various different methods of withdrawing your cash. So that's something to think about. Security, vulnerability to hacking depends on the software, policies, and procedures of the exchanges and their own storage of cryptocurrency. So how do they store it? Is it hot? Is it cold? How much is hot versus cold? Hot means connected to the network, cold means unconnected. Best practice would be to secure that the exchange secures most of their cryptocurrency in cold storage. So you want to have a familiarity with how they're doing that. And then banking relationships. This has been a really hot topic. You've heard it raised a number of times today. Banking relationships for exchanges are incredibly important. If they don't have solid banking relationships in the jurisdictions in which they're serving their customers, then it's very hard for them to get money back to you. Where there was a large article in Globe and Mail about a large Canadian exchange last week where over $20 million is currently locked up in the courts. So cryptocurrency exchange challenges. We've certainly read a lot about these over the years. Security is one, hacking. In Canada, there hasn't been a big instance of hacking, but certainly in other jurisdictions, Asia, Eastern Europe, there has been more instances of widely publicized hacking in exchanges. Reliability, how quickly are you able to get your funds on and off? If you ask the exchange for your money back to put in your bank account, how quickly can they get it to you, and can they get it to you? Ease of use, how easy is it to open a new account, how easy is it to get verified, how easy is it to fund and start trading, and then how easy is it to withdraw your funds, and access to your funds. Can you access it from a website, from a mobile app? When you request your funds to be withdrawn, are they given to you? And just some headlines at the bottom here from some of the challenges that exchanges have faced. Banking is one that we've talked about. The other big challenge is when there's a huge surge in volume like we saw last year, is the exchange equipped to handle that volume? Do they have the financial backing to do that at that time? Are they automated enough that they can process the transactions? Or if they're manual, when you have these surges in volume, what you see often is the exchanges get very backed up in being able to process your funds or your transactions. So processing your withdrawals on, processing your verification, and then processing your transactions off. So just a summary slide, if you're thinking about doing this for the first time, things that make it higher risk versus lower risk. So things that would reduce your risk, trusted jurisdiction. You can look at the corruption index to figure out which jurisdictions globally are more trusted than not. Transparent banking relationships, do they disclose who they bank with? And are they in a trusted jurisdiction that their bank is? Automated KML and automated AML and KYC policies and procedures are better. It means that they're not necessarily storing the information on your behalf. They're relying on a trusted party to store that information to you, and their information isn't within their system that could be hacked, and that information can be gotten from them. Multiple methods to access your fund via multiple Canadian banking relationships or whatever jurisdiction you're transacting in, and do they use cold storage? Higher risk on the other end of the spectrum is basically the opposite of all of those that I just talked about. So now you're a cryptocurrency owner, now what? I'm going to talk about the importance of secure storage and then also a little bit about wallets. So secure storage in cryptocurrency, possession equals 10/10 of the cryptocurrency law. So if you have possession of the private key, then you have possession of that cryptocurrency. If it's lost, if it's stolen, if it's destroyed in some fashion, that's gone forever and never to be returned to you. So possession is determined by public and private keys, which are a random series of words, combinations of letters and numbers. Anyone can view the public key, but it's the private key that really matters here. Therefore, they're incredibly valuable. So there's lots of instances where you hear of stolen or lost keys being in the news. There was one particular instance I remember from a couple of months ago where a man stored his private key on a floppy disk. I'm not even sure you access a floppy disk today, but his wife was cleaning out their office and she threw it out. This is in the Ottawa area, so he's subsequently going through the Ottawa's area dump system to try to find this floppy disk. I think it had about $10,000 on it. And then further on storage, this is a comparison of hot wallet to cold wallet storage. We also talk about physical versus digital storage. So on the far, I don't know if you can see it, you can kind of see it there. On the far, your right, your left, sorry. Hot wallet, least secure. So this would be connected to the network, digital storage. So if someone were to be able to hack into it, they could steal or compromise that. Moving over to the middle, slightly more secure would be physical cold storage. So this is unconnected to the network. Physical storage requires physical compromise. This is actually writing down the private key or having it typed out and having it locked in a safe would be the middle option there. So if you were to physically compromise the safe, physically break into the safe, you would have access to that private key. Adding a level of security on the far right then is digital cold storage. So this, you would have to both digitally and physically compromise this. So this could be stored on something like a ledger or a Trezor and then lock that in safe. So you have to digitally compromise the information on the wallet, which looks like a little USB key, as well as physically compromise the safe getting into the wallet. That would be the most secure option when you're thinking about storing your cryptocurrency. And then just a note on wallets, if you haven't obtained a wallet, they come in many different shapes and sizes. So they're most typically stored in wallets of cryptocurrency keys, and the choice of wallet depends on how you're going to use it. So as I mentioned, they can be a paper wallet, which could be just a simple piece of paper with the key written on it. This is good for long-term holders. You do the transaction once, you write it down, you know it's never been connected to the internet, there's no risk of it ever being online in any way, shape, or form, and you lock it away in a safe. Hardware wallets are designed if you're going to be a more active trader and you want to move the cryptocurrency more readily on and off and in and out of storage. Major brands include Ledger, KeepKey, Trezor. You can buy those online from trusted companies. I think very important here to note that you should, if you're choosing a wallet like that, that you ensure it is from a trusted source, because there have been scams out there in that respect as well. So then, thinking about all of this, just a quick note on Bitvo. So the founders of Bitvo, we do come from the payment processing world. The frustration that we saw when we looked at exchange options out there, if you do want to go that route, was the time delay in getting your money on and off. So you do still have to transact in fiat, and how do you make that more efficient, as well as the security around it and being that trusted party. So when we developed the exchange, we developed it from the perspective of we want it to be as instantaneous as it can. The crypto transactions obviously are. The fiat transaction is always the problem. We've developed and partnered with a Schedule I Canadian bank, hard-coded, automated all of our transaction processing so that what takes 1 to 2 weeks for other exchanges to get money on, and sometimes up to 2 months to get money off, we can do that in a couple of hours typically, but we guarantee that we'll do it in 24 hours. So the process of getting your money on and off, if it takes a month on another exchange, you can do it in a day on our exchange, and that's funding your account from your bank account, trading it to crypto, and then taking that crypto off, and if you want, turning it back to fiat and having it back in your bank account in that same day. So that's our same day guarantee. We also have instant account registration, and again, that's because we're automated into the Canadian credit system. So 75% of our customers are automatically verified the second you sign up. The other 25% you can go and get your government ID checked at a Canada Post location. Relatively low fees, we think. Deposits are all free, withdrawals are 1%, and we have a 25 basis point trade fee. And the other thing we think makes us kind of unique is we have a cash card. So one of the problems with cryptocurrency has been how do you spend it in day-to-day life? Our cash card is in partnership with Visa, and what it does is it allows you to spend the fiat balance in your Bitvo account at anywhere Visa is accepted for purchases or at ATMs to withdraw cash. It does only use your fiat balance because we didn't want you to be liquidating your cryptocurrency. There's a number of headaches around that, but what you can do is on your mobile phone, you have your account, say you have 10,000 Bitcoin in your account, you can make a trade right there on your mobile phone, take $500 and trade that from Bitcoin into CAD, walk into the 7-Eleven and purchase a bag of chips or whatever you want. So it makes moving your money again from your account into fiat, making it usable in day-to-day life until crypto becomes usable in day-to-day life that much easier. So that's kind of a quick overview on buying, storing, wallets, as well as a little bit of a commercial on us. So I'll maybe take any questions that I get this at this point. Or Ben will take questions, sure.
Yeah, that's available right now.
The cash card?
Yeah.
So the cash card, you can order it right now. It should be in about a month.
Awesome, thank you.
No problem. Yes.
I remember 10X had like a bunch, like something happened and then they had to like take their cards out or something like that. With the whole Visa thing. Is that all dealt with and over?
From our perspective?
Yeah.
Yeah, from our perspective, there's no issues with Visa. The partners in the business that we're with have been working with them for quite some time. I'm not sure exactly the details of what happened with 10X and why they had to take it away, but I guess they couldn't get through Visa's process, I would guess.
Okay, cool.
It had to do with their, I forget the name of the company, but they're sort of, yeah, Wave Press Holdings was the company that issued the prepaid Visa, and they lost their relationships with their European banks. So,
banking relationships.
I guess
Very challenging, very important.
I have a question. So I've been looking for, I guess, a solution for easy swapping between crypto and Canadian dollars and being able to more or less kind of spend and live on crypto conveniently and easily. Because I kind of want to put my money where my mouth is and exude what I'd like to see out of the world. And right now, you have to kind of bridge the gap with solutions like this. So, as far as in its current state, what would a transaction look like for me where I'm sitting there, I've got my card, I have my account, I have my Canadian dollars, or rather I have my crypto on the exchange. What's the process before I can access that, like say via mobile? Is that going to be difficult, and is it going to get easier, or what's that look like? I have Bitcoin on the exchange and I want to do a transaction.
So we have a mobile app, so I guess you could do two things from your phone. You could be logged into the web view on your phone, onto your account, or you could be logged into your mobile app. We have 7 different cryptocurrencies. So if you didn't have CAD, if you have CAD in your account, you could spend it right away, no problem. If you only had crypto in your account, you could sell some of your crypto into CAD, and the timing delay is really dependent on the crypto. So Bitcoin takes longer to confirm on the blockchain than a Ripple or a Dash. So you'd have to wait only for that transaction to be confirmed. Once it was confirmed on the blockchain, then it's immediately in your account in CAD, and you can go and spend that at a store. And so if you choose one of the cryptocurrencies that would be confirmed faster, you can spend faster. It's really dependent on the particular cryptocurrency you're liquidating.
Now, so is the delay only in if I'm trying to fund my Bitvo account with the Bitcoin first and then convert it? If it's already at Bitvo and held by you guys, then the conversion is just doing a trade more or less on my mobile? Okay. And then my secondary question, which is different, what's the vetting process for you guys when it comes to what kind of currencies you list? And this is more centered around the idea that we've seen some interesting developments lately because of certain cryptocurrencies. If you gain a certain percentage, over 51% of network hash power, and you become a miner that's powerful enough, you can actually revert transactions. And so we saw Bitcoin Gold recently. It was easy for people to get that amount of hashing power, and then essentially what they did is they funded the account with Bitcoin Gold, traded it for Bitcoin, took that out, and then they were able to revert the transaction as if it never happened on Bitcoin Gold, and that exchange was just basically out millions of dollars. And so, is that a concern for you guys? I imagine so. And beyond that, are there other things that you're looking for when you list certain assets, and what's required there?
We have been pretty careful in that regard. We've sort of stepped into it. So we started with 5, and we typically go with the largest in terms of market cap, and pretty well vetted, long-standing cryptocurrencies. We also think about it from a securities perspective, so pretty relevant to the last talk that we just heard. We work quite closely with a law firm here in town to think about when regulation does kind of catch up to the rest of the industry, would they be considered a security? Are they certainly considered a security now? If they are, then we're not listing them because we're not, it's not that we're against it, but we are not a securities dealer. So we would be outside if we're dealing securities. We also look at it from the perspective, are they likely to be considered a security in the future? And would shy away from that. But for us, we want to offer our customers what is the majority are demanding, which from our perspective is really kind of the largest market cap. We do 80% of our volume in Bitcoin and Ethereum, and 20%, and that's probably even light. It's probably closer to 90% in Bitcoin and Ethereum, and 10 to 20% in the rest.
Okay. We can take some other questions if there are some. If I can see any hands. Anybody? I have others. I just don't want to take up all the time. I've had other people who have questions. Yeah.
Will you guys have a coin tied to your exchange?
We don't currently have any plans for that, no.
No, I think you're one of the few.
Yeah.
Was that an active choice?
No, it's just, it's not our focus. Like, our focus was taking the friction out of purchasing cryptocurrencies, so we're not focused on developing our own or listing our own. We're really focused on making the process easier for as many people as possible in Canada.
Yeah, okay.
our exchange that are merchants that we facilitate liquidity for, but I don't think that's the way that you mean it. In partnering with Visa, we kind of are able to partner with all merchants because anyone who accepts Visa can accept payment from our exchange in a way.
Sorry to go back to the card, but I do have one other question because that's what I'm interested in using, and I'm probably going to use it right away. But do you have plans to allow people eventually maybe to liquidate their crypto directly, like to trigger a trade just by, if I were to say have the card and then in my app set it and say, you know, I'd like to spend from my Bitcoin account and have that trigger a trade at the time of I know that's a pain in the ass, but is that something that might maybe be on the docket eventually, or has there been people asking for that?
People have been asked for it. When we were thinking about this when we were setting it up, we were worried about people accidentally liquidating their cryptocurrency at prices that they didn't want to. So from our perspective, it was more protecting our customers when we set it up. If it goes that way, I can certainly see us thinking about, because I do get your perspective and more of the same view. You want to be able to, you don't want to have to convert it back to CAD. That defeats the purpose. Just use the crypto. It becomes challenging from a tracking of price that you sold it at too, which can have some tax implications. So until we kind of get our heads around the country gets their head around how you're going to tax this as well, because if you think about it, if you're buying a pack of gum, you're liquidating $1 of Bitcoin at that price at that time, and then you're buying it at this thing, it becomes sort of an accounting nightmare in terms of what your average cost base is at that point.
Can you export your trading history?
Yeah. Yeah, so the way it works now is you can see every single trade you make on the platform. You can export it to Excel if you want, to see what price you're trading at, and that way you know that you sold Bitcoin to CAD at this price. Then you use all that CAD to buy your gun and your chips and whatever you're going to buy, but you know that that trade occurred at one price.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. For me, sorry. For me, it makes sense in the fact that like I have the option in my line of work to get paid in Bitcoin, and so if I can have that going into a vehicle that allows me to directly spend it regardless of where I am, then I get to start to separate myself from traditional finance. And even though I'm utilizing a third party to do that, it's a step towards where I want to be. So that's why. So that's me giving you the nudge to say, you know, maybe do that down the line. Do we have any other last questions? Yeah.
Is there going to be an API available so you can script?
Oh, sorry. Is there going to be an API available?
There's currently an API available.
Okay.
But we don't make it public, so we haven't yet anyway. Talk to us. We just want to understand how you're using it, what you're doing, strategies, the like. We would like to get to know the people who have the API.
Good.
We typically provide it to our institutional clients or high volume trading clients. So if it makes sense, then we're happy to talk about it.
Okay, cool.
I'll grab Rob.
Can you disclose what your typical daily trade volume is?
So right now it's all over the map because we do have a few large institutions, and if they come in size, then it can be quite large. We've been up and running and fully marketing the platform since August, and we're probably at about a couple 100,000 a day in volume. If you averaged out, some days we're over 1 million if we have these large institutional trades, and some days it's less than that. It's pretty sporadic, I think, particularly in this market. It's been pretty sporadic.
And is the app available for Android?
Not yet. Early in the new year.
Okay. Any other last questions? Let's maybe take one more if we have one, and then we'll continue on. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about your security layer?
Yeah. Do you mean cold storage or
Your entire strategy for security?
Yeah. So we built the entire environment from scratch. We were built on the back of a Sched 1 Canadian bank, so in terms of our internal security and the way that the platform was built, it's within the bank's security platform. So in terms of being hacked and ability to access their information, that's all at a Sched 1 Canadian bank level. In terms of cold storage, we have true air-gap, geographically diverse cold storage for which we keep the majority of our crypto assets. We do keep some hot assets on the exchange, obviously, but only the amount required to facilitate day-to-day trading liquidity.
And does that change? And I imagine the challenge therein given that it's kind of all over the map, is that hot balance on the days where somebody wants to make those massive trades, is it until later on, is it a bit of a scramble sometimes to get the cold storage out of cold storage and accessible for those that are trying to withdraw and stuff like that?
For day-to-day liquidity, it's not. For the bigger trades with larger institutions, we have pretty good relationships with them, and they know for their own protection, they don't want those. So they'll give us a heads up. We can go in and we can get it. We can do it within 20 minutes. But yeah, typically we're working quite closely with partners if there is going to be a very large trade, because we're doing those over the counter anyway. We're getting them a price and locking that in at the same time. So it kind of happens in concert. But it's a scramble for sure.
Awesome. Any other last questions? I didn't see any of the last ones, so yeah, awesome. Well, let's give a big